Hello and welcome to Only a Missionary Podcast. I'm your host, Clark Robinson, and today I have two very special guests.
Hey guys,
Hi, I'm Velez.
I'm Fernando. I'm her husband.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I'm just so excited to have you guys on. So this is really cool. Why don't you guys tell us about your family? Tell us about your family now.
Yeah, so we live here in Fort Myers, Florida. We have one son. He's a year and a half.
Oh,
So,
He's
That's
Terry, but we love him.
yes.
yeah.
But we
Yeah, let's see. We've been together for 5 years, married for 4.
we actually met on our mission. We
Met on
served
our
in the same mission.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that's
All right.
pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I'd say. Yes. We sustain it. So yeah. No, I could see why. So that's awesome. Why don't you both take a chance and tell us about your families growing up? Was church tell us was church part of your life growing up, or tell us about that?
Yeah, so for most of my life, both my parents were members of the church, but for a little bit when I was younger, I was like a part member family. My dad wasn't a member, so my mom kind of took that role of taking us to church. She was really good at like keeping us going. I don't think I realized how much she took us to church and like how much she like instilled the gospel in us until I was older and realized like how hard that would be if like it wasn't two people doing it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So growing up, we were raised in the church. We basically like did all the basics. We went to church every Sunday, just everything. I'm one of 5, so like I have 2 older siblings, 2 younger siblings, and so
Right in the middle.
Yeah, literally. So we just grew up going to church. It's just, I don't know.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Let's see. My parents are converts, so they joined the church. I think a year before I was born.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and so they had the missionaries over, and my mom was actually the first one to get baptized. Followed pretty quickly by the rest of my family. But so we went to church pretty much every Sunday. I don't think we ever really missed unless it was like we were out on vacation or something. But we were raised in the gospel, or at least I was. I'm the youngest of my family, so of 5 too. So I have 3 brothers and 1 sister.
Cool.
And yeah, so I don't know. I was like an Nephi, So
Born of goodly parents.
That's right.
Okay. All right. Cool. Very neat. Why don't you both take a chance then and tell us the circumstances that led up to you like serving a mission? Like, did you both always want to go, or was it something you decided later? Tell us about that.
I don't think I ever really wanted to go. I was not against going on a mission, but I also wasn't like, I want to go on a mission. I was just I was kind of go with the flow, and that's kind of still how I am now. I'm just I go with the flow pretty much, and so I never really had a desire to serve, but I wasn't against it either. And being brought up in the church, I learned a lot about the gospel, but I don't think I had a full, testimony or conversion, even when I left on my mission. I actually left on my mission because I love my mom, and my mom wanted me to go on a mission. So I said, okay, I'll go on a mission. And so I was about to graduate high school, and my bishop came up to me and said, hey, do you have any plans to go on a mission? I said, no. He said, well, do you want to go? I said, sure. He said, okay, let's start the paperwork. So we started the paperwork, and I decided to go, and then it wasn't until the day I got into MTC that I realized, what I had done. So,
oops. Okay. All right. Well, I'm sure we'll get into how you felt, once you got out there. So, but and that's why I ask, because I'm hoping not everyone will just say, "Oh yeah, it was something that I always wanted to do." So, Good for you for going, because there are people that don't have that desire, but they stay home. So good for you for having enough faith to know, like, well, hopefully this works out. I love my mom, so cool. How about you, Basilia?
I was like the total opposite. I had no desire to go. I like told everyone like I didn't want to go because that's something my parents would bring up to us because they want to know before you graduate high school, like what are your plans after high school? And I was just like college, like no mission, like mission's not for me. And so I decided to go to college at BYU, Idaho. And so it's a church school, so like
Mhm.
I thought it'd be just a regular school, but I realized very soon when I got there that um, it wasn't harder to be at a church school, but I needed to find myself more because I feel like growing up here in Fort Myers, Florida, the church isn't a big thing. Not a lot of people know like what we are or who we are.
Right.
And so like in high school, like people knew that I was like, they called me like Mormon,
Mhm.
and so they knew like I didn't do certain things because I was Mormon. Like that was my excuse for like, oh, you go to seminary every morning? Oh, it's because she's Mormon. Oh, you don't
Right.
drink or any of that? It's because she's Mormon. And so like I got to Idaho and it's like, why don't you do these certain things? And it's like, you can't use your Mormon because more than half the school is a member of the church. Right. And so I think it made me have to figure out why I believe these things and why I did the things and so like my roommate at the time was preparing for her mission, and so like we got super close, and like my other roommate had just got home from a mission, so like my dorm was just very like mission high, like everyone was on a mission high, and all my friends like were preparing for missions, and like people go there for semester and then they go back home to like put in their papers, like that was the thing. And so I think like that got me into like trying to figure out like what's so cool about a mission. Like I just never had any desire to go, so I never looked into it. And so I looked into it, and I remember like I was like in my room one day, and I decided like to commit. I was like, I think I want to go on a mission. Like I called my dad, and I was like, I think I would like to go on my mission. And my dad was like, yeah, you should. Like he wasn't surprised that anything. Like I mom, and she was super surprised. Like my siblings were surprised, but my dad was like, "Yeah, that's what you should do." And so
it's interesting too because I mean, Clark, your dad's the patriarch, right?
Yeah,
he actually gave Basilia patriarchal blessing. I'll let her talk about
that
it.
Is true. And before he, they ask you questions before they give you your blessing. Yeah. And one of the questions is, "Do you want to serve a mission?" And I was like, "Absolutely not. No." Then your dad gave me my blessing, and he told me, "You're going on a mission." And I remember after I finished, I was like, we just won't talk about it right now, I guess. Like, that's not in my plan. But every time I see your dad, he's like, "Remember when you told me you weren't going to serve a mission?" I was like, I don't remember that. Like,
yeah. But yes, I remember.
Literally, like, good thing I went because
but so. Oh my gosh, that's so cool. What a cool thing.
Yeah.
So very neat. Also so cool for your dad to be the one to be like, yeah. Because as a dad to two daughters, I don't know. I feel like I'm close to all my kids, but especially my daughter. So I don't know. I went to dad mode when you told me that. And I'm just like, I could see that. So that's really cool. And your dad is such an amazing, wonderful spiritual man. So that's really cool. All right. Really cool. Which mission, because you said you met in the mission, which mission were you both called to?
Salt Lake City West.
Yes. So we're cool. Utah mission.
Yeah.
So imagine opening your call to a Utah mission.
Back to the motherland. So it was a lot different than I thought it would be. But the Utah in general is just so diverse. I had no idea how diverse it was. So I was called Spanish, and there's so many Spanish people there. It's like they moved straight from their country straight to Utah, and so that was their first exposure to the church, and it's way different. I have got the opportunity to teach a lot of people. It was really cool.
Great. That's awesome.
So We loved it.
Yeah. And I served English. So like totally different experiences, which is so cool about Utah in that way. Like it's just a hard mission to explain. Like you don't know until you get there, but like serving with the English people you serve, that means I served in like the Tongan wards, the Samoan wards, the English wards. Like you're in all of them except Sweden, basically.
Yeah.
Like ASL wards, they have young single, like every ward, and it's just cool that you get to like dive into all those different cultures that you wouldn't even know if we didn't go on this mission.
Yeah. So
for sure. No, that sounds awesome. I'm not kidding when I say this. I turned in my mission papers, and you always get the call. Oh, or the question, where do you want to go? Where do you want to go? And I'm not kidding. I would say, I don't care where I go as long as it's not Utah. That was my answer, because being in the States, and I don't know, I just grew up with this mentality. If I go to Utah, what am I going to do?
Yeah,
because we just had this mindset. Well, everyone's already a member of the church, which couldn't be further from the truth, because everyone I talked to that went to Utah is like, no, there's plenty of stuff to do. And I hear how wonderful the members treat the missionaries. So I'm like, oh, well, maybe it would have been nice to go to Utah. Wouldn't have been all that bad. So
yeah. I never had to worry about food or anything. So
yeah, awesome. People in Utah love missionaries, whether they're members, less active, like they see missionaries and they love you. Yeah, it's amazing.
That's cool. Yeah, that's great. And then everyone already knows who you are. The only time I came close to that was I served for 6 months on the Navajo reservation, and for whatever reason, I mean, there's reasons, but there's tons of members of the church out there. None of them are active, but they see the white shirts, the ties, and the badge, and elders, hey, how's it going? Keep up the good work. And I always said you felt like a rock star, because everyone was like, hey, elders, yeah, keep on keeping on. So, but so that.
I had an experience in my first area. I remember, so my first area, it was a biking area, which was really weird because my whole mission, I was in a car. Like literally, I served my first area and my last area were the only areas that had to walk. Everywhere else was a car for me, which is crazy because Utah is so small. But my first area, there was this massive hill, right? Like you had to bike up this huge hill, and like you get to the top and you're exhausted. And so we're going, and right next to it is a pretty busy street. And so we're going, and like cars are passing by because it's right next to the USANA amphitheater. And so they're always having concerts there. And so, cars are zooming by, and you're like trying your hardest to get up this hill, and everyone's like, yeah, there's go after. Like, yeah, the motivation's there, you really feel it over there. Like, the rock star. It was awesome. But
no, that's great, because especially biking up a hill.
Yeah,
I can barely bike in Florida, so that doesn't sound fun at all. So to have that extra motivation, that must have been nice.
It was awesome.
That's cool. Well, thank you. Well, I now ask if you both could take the opportunity. We all have like a funnier or lighthearted story from the mission, so we'd like to hear one from each of you, if you would, please.
Yeah, so the story that comes to mind, he knows it probably by heart because it's my go-to story. But
good.
But I had been pretty fresh into the mission, so I was on exchanges. So we just switched companions for the day, and so they came to my area. So we were in my area, and we were just out knocking doors, and we were trying to stay in a specific area because we had a lesson coming up. So we were trying to knock in that area. And we had been at it for like a couple hours, like knocking, and, it's like that time of the day when no one's home because like you're either at work or, Yes. And so we just hadn't had anyone open the door. And so we got to this one door and we were knocking and they didn't answer. And so they had a basketball hoop in their driveway. And so the basketball hoop was like one that's like cemented into the floor, like one of the metal
driveway.
And so we had a basketball in the back of our car. So I was like, oh, sister, do you want to just play real quick? Like just something super quick, just like to break up the day because we had just been knocking all day. And so we were playing a quick game of like pig. And she was like, hey, we should take a picture hanging on the hoop, like both of us hanging on the hoop. And like, you know, as missionaries, you take pictures of like the weirdest things, like doing the weirdest things. It's I don't know what happens on your mission where you're like, let's just do this random photo. But so she set up her iPad. No, literally. So she set up her iPad and we went to go hang on the hoop, and we hung on the hoop, and the hoop started falling. Like it started completely coming down. Like it's metal, so it was super rusted at the bottom. No, and it just fell. And so we didn't get hurt. So we get off the floor and we're like, oh my gosh, like what do we like?
We done.
We don't even know these people. We were just out knocking off of referrals. And so we're like freaking out because we're like, oh my gosh, we have a lesson to get to. Like we can't even wait. And so we try and move the hoop off of the driveway, and we like leave a note. Like we crashed the car. Like we leave a note like, hey, this was the Sister Missionaries. We broke your hoop. Like call us so we can pay for the damages. Like whatever you want, like just call us. And so we leave the note and we go to our lesson. And like the whole time, the sister that I'm with is freaking out. She was like, oh my gosh, they're going to send us home. They're going to call the mission president. Like she's freaking out. And I'm pretty fresh. I was like, oh my gosh, if I get sent home for this, like, I don't know what my parents are going to think. Like they're probably
back already.
Yeah. And so, after our lesson, they still hadn't called us yet. So we were like, let's go get them cookies and then, like leave it on their doorstep. So we got cookies, we left the note there. And then later on that night, someone called us, and it was a lady, and she was like, is this the Sister Missionaries that broke my basketball hoop? And so I was like, yes, oh my gosh. And instantly I started apologizing. And she's like, are you okay? Is your car okay? And I was like, well, my car didn't hit it. So I had to explain to her what happened. And she's laughing so hard. She's telling her husband's dying. And so we're like, let us know what we need to do to like pay you back. Like we can pay you money, like whatever you need. And she's like, oh my gosh, you're fine. My kids don't use it. Like it's old. Like we don't care. And we're like, well, we need to like pay you back. We need to do something to like, you know, we broke your hoop.
Yeah,
like, why don't you guys come over for dinner like later? Like not that day, but like later on that week. And we're like, sure, like you can feed us if you want, but so I go with my regular companion. I tell her what happens. And so she's scared to even go in there because she's like, why do they want us here if you broke their hoop?
Oh, it's a setup.
Literally. So we go to their house for dinner, and we find out that her husband's not a member and she's only a member. Her kids aren't members. And so he thinks it's the funniest thing ever. Like he's like, I didn't know missionaries were allowed to play basketball. Like I thought you guys just taught Jesus all day. Like you couldn't do anything. And he's like, so he thought it was hilarious, but fast forward, we were able to teach his kids and him, and I know, isn't that insane?
That's so cool.
He got the kids baptized. There was 3 of them. There were 17, 14, and 12. And then the dad, he was hard. It took, like I had left the area before he finally got baptized, but I got to come back for his baptism, and I remember at his baptism, he was like, thank you, Sister Kionis, for breaking my basketball hoop. It's like, I wouldn't be here. But it's just,
oh my gosh.
Everything happens for a reason, I guess.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Fernando, you probably should have went second or first. You should have let her, it's going to be hard to follow that. That is the coolest, funniest, like, I can't imagine how I'd have felt. Like being there and it's broken. And
we got lucky. Sorry. They were an amazing family. I can't believe.
Oh my gosh, that's so awesome and funny. But yeah, that's so cool.
Oh, and then on top of that, we didn't even get a picture because her iPad fell during the picture. So the only picture we have is like a picture of the ground. So we broke it for no reason. The picture didn't even come out.
Oh my god. Well, we know the reason why it broke.
Yeah, we didn't know that at the time.
I think an angel karate chopped it or something. So
could be, because that's the only way he probably would have let us in the house.
That's awesome. That's so cool and funny. But yeah, that's so cool. That's so cool.
That's really awesome.
All right, Fernando, let's.
That's small to follow, but
yeah,
I'll give it my best shot. I've been really trying to think of like funny, lighthearted stories. I had a great time on my mission. Like I have tons of stories. I just can't really think of any. One that just came to my mind was So one of my areas that I was serving, we were serving in a YSA.
Mm-hmm.
So we were actually covering 3 YSAs, and one of the bishops there had made these baskets of it was during Christmas time. And so, it was the end of the year. So he made us these Christmas baskets, and in there, he had a couple gift cards. And so it was gift cards to Texas Roadhouse. And
Nice.
so I know, right? So the transfer was ending, and so me and my companion were like, okay, let's go treat ourselves. Let's go to Texas Roadhouse for lunch. And we invited our housemates to come eat with us, and they actually had gift cards too because they served in a YSA too.
Mm-hmm.
So they had gift cards. So like, okay, let's just go spend these gift cards. I think they were like $50 each. So you can get a pretty good meal.
Good eating that night.
Yeah. So we went back to our house, and we ordered the biggest steak we could. And
trying to spend it.
Trying to just use up all the money. And so we're eating. We're working our way through this massive steak, and then Tongan people are just really giving. And so there's this family of like 8 Tongan people, and so they're eating, and they finish their meal before we did, and they get up and they pay for us, right? So they give us $100 bill, and they're like, elders, don't worry about it, we've got it for you. I was like, okay, awesome, cool, thank you guys so much. Like, we weren't paying for this either way, but thank you. And so they go on their way, and we're still eating dinner, and then another family comes up, and they're like, elders, don't worry, we've already taken care of the bill. Give some money for Christmas too. And so they give us more money. So it's the 4 of us. I think they've given us a total of on our table we've had so far probably $300, to pay for dinner so far. And then we're still eating. We're like, what are we gonna do? Like, there's no way we can keep this money. Yeah, just feel right. So, but we also our mission presence was okay, it's kind of weird, taking money from people, but that's the way people love to show their love, and
True.
And so, don't ever, try and reject it. Just take it and just move on, And so, we were like, okay, that's fine. I guess we'll just leave it for a tip. And then another family comes.
No way.
Yeah, another family comes, and it's like, elders, we're so happy to see you. Our son is serving a mission, and I think it was the remote part of Africa, doesn't get fed. He's starving. They're like, we just miss him so much. We just want to treat you guys. So they give us some more money. So in total, we had probably $600 that people have just given us in money just to pay for our lunch. We have gift cards. We weren't going to pay for this. And so we're like, what are we going to do? And so, we were just kind of debating, well, let's just tip our waiter. So we ended up just leaving all that money on the table just as a tip, Merry Christmas from the elders, and we left our number and stuff. And so actually the waiter was in the area of our housemates. And so he ended up calling them elders and was like, hey, thanks for the tip and this and that. So it actually worked out better for them, but that's just an interesting story, how different, that one family came up was our son's in Africa, and we're we're living the life, so
yeah.
I'm sorry you didn't go to Utah, but I love mine. So.
What's funny is hearing that. It sounds almost like a Saturday Night Live skit where these people, we just got to get rid of this. We just got to get rid of this money, and then people just keep giving you more money. You're like, no, this is the opposite of what we want. So, yeah. Oh my gosh, that would have been my jaw would hit the floor while we're seriously. So yeah, how funny.
Yeah, people loved us in Utah.
We really were.
We emphasize it all the time. When you hear stories like that, that's so normal.
It's not uncommon. That happens, but yeah,
amazing.
That's cool.
Yeah, we were really blessed for sure.
That's cool. All right. Now I would ask if each of you could share your favorite conversion story with an individual or a family or whomever it may be.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. Yours is pretty good.
Oh, okay.
So, on the other hand, he was struggling to find a lighthearted one, and I was trying to find a pretty good like I taught so many people and I loved all their stories, but it was hard for me to figure out like which one like was the one until like I was thinking about it, and I thought of this guy I taught, and he left the church, so he was excommunicated, and so he had been away from the church for a while. And so I remember in ward council, the bishop was telling us like he wants to come back, like he requested to come back. And so me and my companion were like, yes, like this is the perfect person. We love people like this that are ready. And like we knew his wife, she was the sweetest lady, super active, like perfect, you know. So we were like, oh my gosh, it's gonna be so exciting to meet her husband. And so I remember they signed up to feed us dinner. So we were gonna do dinner and then the lesson right after. And so we got to their house, and I remember so vividly, we were coming up to their driveway, and he was in his garage, and like he was just he was a Harley Davidson guy, like black leather jacket, like his garage was all decked out, like it was like, and like he wasn't mean, like he didn't do anything mean, but he just looked very serious. Yeah, and so like we come up and we're like, hey. And like the first thing he said was like, I thought missionaries were guys. Like he thought we were going to be elders. And so we were like, oh, like surprise, you know, like what do you say to that, you know?
Yeah.
His wife comes out and is like, sisters, come in, come in. So she's super sweet. We go in. And so like at dinner, we're just trying to like break the ice. And like he's giving us nothing.
Oh
like,
my gosh.
It wasn't like he was mean or anything. He just didn't want to talk, you know? Like he just didn't have a lot to say. He's not someone that likes to talk. Mm-hmm. And so we were just trying to get anything out of him. Because, you know, as missionaries, you're just trying to connect and like, you know, see, like, just make a connection. Yeah. And so we did find out that like his son passed away when he was like 18 years old. So like, that was like the only thing that we got out of him. Like obviously that hurt him very hard. Yeah, for sure. And so like my companions like, let's teach the plan of salvation. Like let's teach that one. And so we get to the lesson part, we teach him the plan of salvation, and nothing. Like he's just like, okay. Like, he didn't give us anything, you know? And so we were like, dang, like I feel like that's the lesson that always hits everyone. Like, you know, like you be with your family again, it's like I feel like it's like one of the greatest like lessons to teach, you know? Yeah, for sure. And so he didn't give us anything. So we leave that night and we're like, maybe he just like, you know, he knows everything still. Like he was a member once, you know? True. And so we go back for the second lesson and we're like, let's just teach him like how we're supposed to. So we teach him the restoration, and still like, he's not giving us much. Like it's just really hard to like connect with this guy. And like he's doing all the invitations, he's reading, he's doing everything, but like he's just not giving anything to us. And so I remember it was like our fourth lesson, and like we were like, what made you want to come back? Like why do you want us here? And he just started bawling. Like this grown man, like never couldn't get anything out of him, just started bawling. Oh my gosh. And it took him a minute, and he was like, I just know. And like that's all he said. But like we felt that, you know, like the spirit was so strong. That's all he needed to say. And we're like, okay. And so we continued. I can remember his baptism. It was like, there was not a dry eye in sight. And like the testimony he gave, like he's not a man of a lot of words, but like when he did speak what he knew, like it's true. And like he bore testimony that this is true. He knows it's true. And that's why he's back. And so it was, I don't know. I remember he's the sweetest man. I keep in contact with him to this day. Like he'll message me and like, I got a new calling. Like he loves this church. He knows it's true. And like, I don't know, but amazing man. Oh my gosh. That is so great. Yeah. That is so great. And then to have that breakthrough after you're like, oh man, are we getting through to this guy? And does he even like us? And then to have that, I'm sure from there on, amazing. Yeah. That's so cool. That's very special. Thank you. Wow. Thank you so much. Really cool. All right. Let's Fernando, let's hear your favorite story, please. Yeah. So this is probably one of my favorite stories of my whole mission. So okay. I'll just kind of preface it. So
I got called into leadership really, really on into my mission. And so when I got the call, I was really, really scared. Right. And so um, I got the call from our APs to our assistants to the president to be a district leader. Also, follow up training an elder in an area that hadn't seen a baptism in a couple of years. And so for Utah, that's like really rare, And so my companion at the time had just left that area and he had been there for 7 months. And so he's like, I hate that area. That area is dead. So I was really, really scared. I was scared to go there. Because a couple things about me is I'm not good socially, right? I don't have a lot of social skills. I don't speak a lot. And so, in turn, that's typically when you think of leader, you think of someone who's, good and adapted socially. And that just, that wasn't me. Right. So I was really scared. And so that night before I left to the next area, I said a prayer to my Heavenly Father. I was like, listen, I have faith in you. I know this is where I need to be, but I'm scared. So I don't think I'm ready, but I trust you. And so that night, one thing is I receive revelation through dreams a lot of times. And so that night I had a dream, and I'm standing in the baptismal font, and there's a line of people waiting to be baptized. And so the first person I look down, and the person I'm getting ready to baptize is a young woman, and so I was like, okay, like I woke up from that dream and I didn't think anything of it. I was like, oh, that's an interesting dream. I felt really calm and really peaceful, and so I left to the next area, picked up my new car, picked up my new companion, and then my companion had already been in that area, so we already had plans for the day, and so. Our lesson that evening was with this family. He's telling me about this family, about how they're from Mexico. The parents don't want to be taught, but they want their kids to be taught. The parents are heavily Catholic, but they think it's a good thing if the kids are taught. So I was like, okay, like that's a weird situation, but all right, like I'll roll with it. And so we get to the house, and the mom opens the door, and she's like, elders come in. We're saying hi. Her son's already waiting on the couch. Her son's probably 12 years old. And then they're like, okay, like we're going to bring, like they tell their son to come, go get your daughter or go get your sister. And so he calls his sister, and out comes this young woman that I just saw in a dream. I had just seen her. And so I didn't say anything. I was like, okay, that's odd. It's really weird. So, we're going through the lesson, and, my companion, we taught, I think we were teaching the restoration again. And then, the mom is feeding us at the same time. And so we finished the lesson, and then, during weekly planning, me and my companion are talking about it. And I'm like, okay, I think she needs to be put on baptismal date, but we look through the records, and she's been put on baptismal date a couple times, and she just, she didn't want to be baptized yet. She didn't know if it was true or not. Fast forward, we've been teaching her for the entire transfer already, and so we've been teaching her, and so it's the last week of the transfer, and we go to her house. And we're teaching her and her brother, and we try to extend a baptismal invitation, and she says no. And so I asked her. I said, "Listen, like, what is it? We've been teaching you for a while. We know you have faith. We know you believe in the gospel, and we know you believe in the restoration of the gospel. Why don't you want to be baptized?" And she wouldn't answer us, right? And so I was getting a little frustrated, okay, like this, but so my companion had told me, like, we need to drop them. I was like, no, we can't drop them. We can't drop her. And so, we got to the end of the lesson. I said, listen, this is going to sound really weird. Okay. But I know you're going to be baptized. I don't know when, but I know you're going to be baptized because I saw you in a dream. I saw it. You're in a baptismal font, and I was baptizing you. And so I said, I don't know if you're just scared, but it's time. And then we were wrapping up the lesson, and then we said a closing prayer, and she turns to me, she said, I actually saw you in a dream too.
Oh my gosh.
I was, and it's the end of the transfer. So I had actually gotten a call to go somewhere else. So I was leaving the area. So I didn't think I was going to be able to see her be baptized. But thankfully, my mission president allowed me to come back and baptize her. So that's probably the craziest.
Oh my gosh. That literally gave me goosebumps when you said that. That is amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's incredible.
What a cool experience. Very neat.
Yeah.
Very cool. Wow. Awesome. Very cool. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's
sure,
incredible. So, wow. The last thing I like to ask before we sign off, and I think it's a very good ask, since both of you weren't maybe as excited as others to serve missions. If there was someone who was kind of on the fence, like, yeah, I kind of want to serve, but maybe I don't want to, or maybe I'm going to do something else. What advice or what would you say to them to maybe convince them or to motivate them to want to serve a mission?
I would say just do it. I mean, so going back to the beginning, and I said I didn't realize what I had done until I got into the MTC, and it's because I grew up in the church. I knew all the stories. I knew everything. When I went to seminary all 4 years, I knew everything, right? But I didn't have faith. I didn't know for myself. I didn't have a testimony. And so the first day of the MTC, they get all the missionaries together, and you're supposed to teach an investigator, right? Or they call them friends. You're supposed to teach somebody, right? And so everyone is getting up and they're sharing scriptures. They're quoting scriptures, they're sharing their testimonies, and I'm sitting there and I'm just like, I don't belong here. This was a mistake. I shouldn't have come out. I don't have the testimony, and I'm not ready. I didn't study the scriptures enough to be able to quote the scriptures. And so I felt really unprepared. So I was sitting there and I was crying, just bawling, because I started to feel the Spirit. And I felt the Spirit, and a quote came to my mind, because like I said, I didn't think I was ready. I felt really unprepared, and quote came to mind. I think it's from Gordon B. Hinckley. I've never been able to find it, but it's, the gospel is simple, we just complicate it. That's what came to my mind, and I was just sitting there and I was like, okay, I'm gonna be okay. I'm gonna be fine. Obviously, I can't. I started studying the scriptures like crazy after that, but the experiences you have on your mission will change you forever. Right? My testimony from I can never deny my testimony anymore. Right? I know for sure it's true, and so it always. I don't want to say it makes me upset, but it kind of does in a way when I hear someone who's about missionary age tell me that they don't want to go on a mission because of what it's done for me. All right. And so I'd love for everyone to experience that too. Ideally you would have a conversion before you go on a mission, but I didn't, and it worked out fine. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, and I would agree, because that's the first thing that came into my mind, to just do it, because there's no harm done in going, and I feel like everyone that I've ever talked to that went on a mission hasn't regretted it. It helps build you for what comes next in life. I mean, we got lucky, and I was able to find my husband on my mission, and that doesn't work for everyone, but just like the things that you learn from your mission are not things that you would learn elsewhere. And also along with your testimony, I feel like the things that you build on your mission with your testimony is not something that you can build just at home. And I know you can build a strong testimony at home, but like, it just
and it's not the same.
You're just fully into the gospel for a year and a half or 2 years, and that's all you're focused on, and just helping people find and learn more about Jesus Christ. Like, that's no bad can come from that. It's all good, and like everything good is from Jesus. Like, that's what they say, and that's literally a mission. That's all you do for a year and a half. So just do it.
Yeah. Awesome. Wow. Thank you both so much. Sure. I've said it too many times in the interviews that I've had, but I say a mission allows you to be the best version of yourself. Yeah. So because you're doing it, because to your point, you're doing it. This is the only time in your life, unless you're, called into church leadership to Salt Lake later, which it could be. But for most people, this is the only time in your life that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you get to dedicate every moment that you're awake to the Savior and to building your testimony and to helping people and telling them you love them. And so I'm right there with you. Thank you so much. That's great. That's great.
I do just want to clarify, me and my wife never served around each other. So.
Oh, okay.
Wrong idea, right?
Yeah.
She just saw me and thought I was handsome.
Okay.
So wrote me after her mission.
Okay. Yeah. I could see that. Nice.
I think a few details in there messed up, but we won't talk about it.
Another time, a different podcast. Well, that's great. Thank you both so much, because that's going to be hard to top for anybody. Those were some fantastic stories. So, and it happened in Utah. So everyone pray that you get to go to Utah. So
honestly,
it really is. Like, I know everyone says they have the best mission in the world, but I really think we have the best mission.
Yeah.
Not biased at all.
Yeah. No, none. I don't sense any in either of you. So, all right. Very cool. Okay. Well, thank you. So I want to go ahead and thank you both for coming on. Like I said, you've been two of the best guests that I've had. Those were amazing stories. Yeah.
It's nice to talk about our mission.
Yeah, we don't get to talk about it as much as we'd like.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us.
Well, my pleasure.
You need more stories. We got more stories.
I might hold you to that. So, all right. I would like to thank the Velez family for coming on, and for everyone listening. If you'd like to come on, share some missionary stories of your own, you can send me an email at clark@oampod.com. Or if you have a story that you'd like to share, but you don't have time to come on, or you're too shy to come on, you can also send me the story, and we can work it out to where I can read it on your behalf, because we love missionary stories. Because if not, we don't get to hear, wonderful stories like we just heard. So once again, thank you so much both for coming on, and we hope whoever's listening, we hope you have a great rest of your day.